Hello, everybody, and welcome to ImRecruitable TV, bringing you the unfiltered, no BS information and advice on college sports recruiting. I'm your host, Tarek Merchant, alongside with my sidekick, Jon Sklenar.
What's going on?
All right, today is episode 10, everyone, and Jon and I decided that for episode 10, why not just throw some Q&As out to each other and see if we can give you guys some great feedback on the recruiting process and also our experiences as student athletes and our experience now in the recruiting business for so many years. We can give you guys some insight that you can take away to prepare yourself for college and also understand what that college experience is going to be like as an athlete, which is obviously very different than the regular students. And I think it'll be a good show. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
All right, sounds good. So I came up with 5 questions. Jon came up with 5 questions. We didn't really talk too much about it. So I'll start it off. I'm going to ask Jon the first question, and let's see what he has to say.
What do you got?
All right, here we go. So Jon, if you had to do the recruiting process over again, what would you do differently?
Well, I would have started the process a lot earlier. I started it very late, which limited my options. I wasn't as prepared as I could have been, and pretty much just the options there. So I was on a tennis scholarship. I know some sports, the recruiting might be a little bit different.
Well, you were looking at hockey too at one time, right?
Yeah, I was looking at hockey. So I was looking at both hockey and tennis. But when it came to the end stretch, actually, I was past my senior year already in high school, and going into the summer with not many options because I started it kind of late in the spring. I had a friend of mine that was going to go to a few schools, and I was kind of at the same level, so I kind of got his letters at the time. There was more mailing going on than emailing back then. And so I kind of just looked at specific levels that he was at and kind of hit up those schools as well, and kind of lucked out. So I went to school in a school in New Mexico where the coach contacted me in late spring looking for still another player for the fall. So I actually went on my recruiting trip in June and ended up just committing. Again, I had very few options, so it was kind of like a it's either now or never type deal. And so the one thing I would have definitely done differently is started a lot earlier, more like my sophomore year, maybe even freshman year, but I just would have been a lot more prepared. I would have been able to know, which level I was at and kind of what schools I could have went after. Cause as we know, there's thousands of schools in the US, to choose from, and it's about finding the right fit. So I don't think I really went through the process properly to find the right fit. Although it ended up luckily being a good fit for me.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would have done differently?
I mean, again, just being more prepared, training for it more, knowing what level I need to be at for, I did contact some schools that were just completely out of my level, not really knowing again. So I just didn't do as much research or educate myself prior to kind of contacting some of these coaches. And, there was a reason why some of these coaches maybe weren't, returning my emails. But once I got into the process a little bit more serious, I realized, okay, like I was going after the wrong schools.
Yeah, it's like the number one, I guess, regret that people have is they didn't start early enough.
Right. So that's the biggest one.
All right. Okay, what you got for me?
So you were a transfer. So for those who don't know, me and Tarek played together in New Mexico, and Tarek ended up transferring. So one of my questions is, what was your best takeaway from transferring to another college?
Okay, good one. I think a lot of people transfer for the wrong reasons. I transferred for all the right reasons. I was just in a position of growth where I had pretty much outgrown the school, as you know, both academically and skill-wise. And I think that my experience was great in both scenarios because of that. You know, I had a great 2 years in New Mexico, I had a great 2 years in Jacksonville. And I take away the pluses and minuses from both. Of course, if somebody asked me and I was going into great detail, I'd say there's pros and cons of every school, right? But I felt like I had two different but equally unique experiences that were great for me at that time. You know, when I came in to New Mexico, I was very immature. There was a lot of things going on, and it allowed me to evolve properly without too much pressure and all that stuff. And then as I went into play in in Jacksonville, I was in the right spot to be there as well. So transferring is not always easy. I luckily had a great experience. I feel like I got two families, you know, there. I had a great experience with the teammates I had on both teams, and I walked away kind of like, you know, what everyone's dream would be is to have two teams that they can represent for the rest of their life and be a part of. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was more you had a losing streak against me in college, so kind of forced you out of New Mexico.
Maybe a losing streak, in practice matches, but seemed to crush it against the competition, right? Maybe it was a mental thing for me.
Possibly.
But no two experiences are the same, right? So you can't compare it. But you know, my takeaway is that I did it for the right reason. I had a great time, and I had equally great opportunity at both. And you know, I guess it was kind of like a dream come true for me. It worked out great in the end.
Glad it did.
All right, here's my question. What word? Okay, this is a two-part question. So, what word best describes your college experience? That's part one. Give me the answer there.
What word best describes my college experience? I would have to say priceless.
Okay. And what skills, I think I meant to say, did you acquire as a student athlete that you wouldn't have otherwise?
Well, good two questions. So the priceless part, again, just priceless experience, meaning I had honestly the best 4 years of my life. Life-changing experience, got a good education, you know, got to travel with the team, got to see many, you know, places that I dreamt of going to, like California, for example, Hawaii, you know, good competition. I met a lot of great people along the way. A lot of them I'm still friends with. That I'm working with my best friend now, Tarek. So kind of like met Tarek, had a better, you know, relationship with Tarek once we were in college. I kind of knew him earlier through tournaments and stuff, but you know, that's where we kind of met each other. And yeah, so the priceless experience, just getting to know so many people and just having a lot of takeaways from, you know, the college experience. And it kind of, you know, takes you that step from being like a boy to a man, I would almost say, because, you know, I was on my own as well. I didn't have my parents around me, you know, in New Mexico. So, you know, just kind of had to go through everything myself along, you know, with your friends, your teammates, your coaches, and so on. So it's really priceless experience. Second part to that question, what type of skills did I acquire as a college student athlete that I wouldn't have otherwise? Maybe not knowing that I wouldn't have otherwise, but definitely being a student athlete. You know, I would say some of the skills I acquired was like self-confidence, self-discipline, motivation, and just the inner desire to succeed. You know, being a student athlete and having to juggle academics and sports, being on a team sport, you know, always trying to get to the next level, always trying to beat the guy ahead of you, and so on. Just, you know, a lot of motivation there, and you know, you kind of have to hone it in, you know, yourself and kind of go through the motions. And so those would be the main skills that I think I took away as a student athlete.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got for me?
What do I got for you? What made you decide on choosing a school you went to for college sports? So what made you decide to go to, I guess, New Mexico and then
Well,
Jackson?
I think similar to you, I started late. Well, I started maybe a little bit earlier, but I decided not that I didn't want to go, and then I rekindled my love for wanting to go, I guess, or my interest to go. So for me, choosing a school, though, I still had some options, of course, and to me, it was a number of preferences that I had set out with my. I had a recruiting coach that was helping me, and my dad and my, personal coaches and stuff. And so we set out some expectations, some preferences, some requirements. I mean, one thing was what I wanted to study. I think that was the most important thing for me and my family was, it got a major that I can actually excel in and that I want to study. It's going to make me want to go there. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been so motivated doing a major that I wasn't interested in. The weather was important to me, but knowing that might not have been a guarantee. I wanted to travel just like you. I love to travel. So having a great schedule, playing great teams, getting an opportunity to excel as a student and as an athlete, and just having a good group of people around me, a good coach, someone who I could look up to that could mentor me. I think that was important for my family as well. They're sending me far away. They wanted to make sure I was in good hands.
Right.
So, I think that everybody has their own preferences, right? And so those are some of the things that made me choose the school. And I think you got to set those out ahead of time and check as many boxes as possible.
Yeah, let me throw something in there because we were kind of both, I guess, late in the process, kind of the unknown, and then ended up going somewhere. Again, for me and Tarek, like we're talking, almost 20 years ago. So what we had access to, and as being international student athletes, what we had access to back then is so minimum to what, like high school kids have now, whether it's, all these, showcases or all these, online recruiting platforms where coaches are just, going to on a daily basis. I mean, we had none of this. So we had, back then we had email, depending on how quick or how fast your speed was back then. And we had the postal service. We had to send out, cassettes with videotapes, to the coaches with, our own portfolio and things like that. So, there's just a lot more things that student athletes have access to these days that tremendously help the process.
Yeah, we had to ask the coach a lot of the questions and look at a school website. And now you have all that built into the platforms where you can see what majors they have. You can see, the difference comparisons between the schools and all the statistics that they show you to help you make that decision a lot quicker too. So yeah, it's great to have access to the technology and the data.
Exactly.
All right. So next question here I got for you is, how did you handle the pressure of playing your sport and meeting the expectations of your team and your coach? Obviously, everybody knows that there's pressure, different degrees of pressure too, right? I mean, we were at a scholarship school, so you had a big scholarship that you had to hang on to, and it is year by year. Now things have changed. Sometimes they're 4 years, so on. But for the most part, you're trying to earn your scholarship every year, right?
Right.
And your coach is expecting certain things from you. He or she is playing for their job as well. And your teammates, are relying on you. How'd you handle
that? Well, again, whether you're on scholarship or non-scholarship, you always want to keep your spot on the team, right? There was obviously a little bit more pressure for myself. I was on a full scholarship, and like you're saying, it's never, guaranteed every year. So each year, your coach will sit you down and kind of talk to you, and you're kind of hoping that they're going to renew it, right? I would say the best way is not to just go like through the motions. So I kind of set my own goals based off of, the conversation me and my coach had prior to the season, prior to the fall season. And again, it also depends on what type of coach you have, but you can also do it yourself, where you are setting your own expectations, both on the athletic side and the academic side, right? So, my school did have at the time, to be eligible, a 2.0 GPA or higher, but our coaches were trying to have us at a 3.0 or higher. So, I would set aside, on top of what the coach would do, is set aside like study times, right? Outside of your regular study hours. So there would be like a study hall where, you can book your time, go with the tennis team and kind of, study what you might be, slacking out, whatever the case is, to get your grades up. And then also tennis, right? So as you remember, when we played together, outside of the regular tennis hours, on the weekend, if you're not really doing anything, or, call up another teammate and go hit some balls, go work on your serve, whatever, again, whatever you need to do to get to that next level or to get higher in the roster, whatever the case is. So you always want to put 100% into, both your academics, both your athletics. And, if there's anything that you're missing or anything that you're kind of worried about, don't be scared. Go to your coach, and, the coach always tries to work with you, and, the coach always wants to get you to the next level as well. But if you put 100% into, your academics, your athletics, again, at the end of each year, you should be fine going into the following year.
Yeah. I feel like everybody, we had a lot of different friends that were different athletes, right? Basketball players, football players, soccer players, etc.
Right.
I just remember all of my buddies in school, the best ones who kind of had limited pressure were the ones that were working super hard and then putting that practice into play and then performing well because they were well prepared, versus the guys that were out late at night, not really preparing themselves. And then, the sort of result was not as good of a game, right? And I noticed that even with having roommates that were different, had a basketball roommate that was super prepared, had another roommate, football, not so prepared. It makes a difference, takes the pressure off.
Well, exactly, because that's where the pressure comes from, right? So if you're kind of slacking and, not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then, you're going to get more pressure. The coach is going to be, wondering what's going on, talking to you more, just
teammates get on you too.
Teammates get on you, and then you're kind of the spotlight. So just put 100% into whatever you do in life.
Okay. Next
question for you. So is there anything you regret not doing or accomplishing during your time in college?
I like this question because I think that everybody, you don't want to have any regret. And I don't think I have any major regret, which is great. But of course you regret things that you didn't do and that you didn't accomplish. And I think, but that's part of like growing up and learning and some of the failures that you have. So overall, I had a great experience too. I mean, my macro takeaway, my overall is that I had the priceless experience. But I regret, I guess in some way, not being as mature. I don't know if I can regret that or not. I think that was just something that evolved. But, it was difficult for me at the beginning to do well academically. I think if I had put a little bit more effort into my academics, I would have had a better experience with it rather than trying to just play catch up and sort of like just get by. Because I know that later on when I did my master's and stuff, I really enjoyed the academic part and I really learned a lot more versus my undergrad, especially the first couple years was literally just, hey, how can I pass the test? I wasn't really interested in learning stuff. And I think I should have taken that on. As far as the, athletic experience, I mean, I think I did a lot more than the average person, especially in my first couple years, because I really excelled and had some real great results. But, I could have accomplished more. And I think that I could have handled my injuries a lot better. That was the one thing that I regret for sure. And that I did not accomplish is that once I got injured, with a terrible shoulder injury, I didn't make a big enough effort or a commitment to getting better, and therefore I really had a limited senior year and basically didn't play. And so I wish I got that fourth year back so I could play, because I really had like a 2 to 3 year season. I didn't complete it. So I think the biggest thing that if I'm telling other student athletes and parents that are going to go through the journey is that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have some minor regrets, but don't, try to go in each day feeling like you gave it your all and that you left nothing on the table and that you tried doing your best within yourself, and learn from others and take in what the coaches have to say. And, maturity is a huge thing. And I think that's difficult. But I feel like the more you talk about it, the more immature individuals like myself were listening. You eventually figure it out. You just have to be open to listen to it, and then you'll have it. If you don't, then you're going to go through 4 years, because it goes by so fast, and you'll have a ton of regret.
So as a freshman, the night before your test, don't pull all-nighters and study for the first time, is what you're saying.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Or not show up to classes and expect to get a decent grade. I mean, it's kind of dumb stuff like that, like I said, a lot of immaturity, but I think that you'll accomplish more. I mean, the thing is that it's 4 years that are that go on towards the rest of your life. Like those years matter in a lot of ways, especially as athletes, because when you go to talk about it, like now, like it'd be great to have all these accomplishments. I mean, the people that do versus the ones that don't, they kind of wish they did it differently.
Yeah, and don't take it for granted. I mean, those of you, no matter which sport, if you have a good scholarship, whether it's academic, athletic, full rides, whatever the case
financial
is,
aid,
financial aid, these things can be taken away from you based off of the actions, you do, throughout the year. So stay on top of it.
All right, next one. What do you think is the difference between athletes that enjoy their college experience versus those that don't enjoy it? Because obviously there's two sides of this. We've spoken to so many people that you meet and know over the years. That's like, oh yeah, I played softball. Oh yeah, I played lacrosse. Oh, I played this. Oh, how'd you like it? Some people are coming back saying, oh my God, it was a time of my life. And others are saying, yeah, it was okay. Or I didn't really like it.
Yeah, I think this actually starts early, before going to college. So I mean, if you're a student athlete, if again, like question one, like if I started, luckily I had a really good experience and I had the time of my life, but starting the recruiting process early and really finding the right fit school, I think that really helps in answering this question here. Just obviously, when you're trying to find the right fit, you find out where your major might be. So academically, athletically, if you're, able to, play on the team as well. And then obviously you have your preferences. So like you were saying, if you want to go somewhere where it's hot, if you want to go to a bigger size school, or if you don't care for much, or if you want to go to a school that has a football team because, you want to be part of that type of environment, then, there's a lot to it. So if you start the process early enough, you can kind of go through your checklist and kind of narrow down your options and then truly find the best fit school for you. And, the majority of the time, obviously anything can happen once you're in college, but a majority of the time, if you do your proper research, you educate yourself on, the schools and stuff, then you'll ultimately have a great experience. Again, there's certain experiences that can happen in school that, can happen, which will, discourage your situation or whatever the case is. But again, just being prepared before you enter that college, you should be good to go. Because, again, a lot of people that maybe don't have the best experience, they're late in the recruiting process, they're rushing it. They're maybe going somewhere just for their athletics because they're getting a good offer and they just want to go for it. But then once they get there, they realize maybe, what they wanted to really study isn't there, or doesn't have the greatest, major there for them, or, their preferences. All of a sudden they're at a small school when they want to be at a bigger school. It's snowing here. I want to be somewhere where it's, there's palm trees, whatever the case is, right? So like there's so many factors to it. I don't know if I answered that properly, but I would say just starting the process early, the recruiting process, going down your checklist of what you want. I think, you won't run into a major problem once you get to the school.
Yeah, I think people, if they don't find a good fit, they're not going to have a good time. And if they don't actually adjust and try to compromise and be part of the team and understand that it's not going to be the same as your high school career and whatever. It's a different world. It's the next level. So you've got to make adjustments. And I think those that do and embrace it have a better experience. Of course, there's other things that happen. If you have a terrible coach, right, or you have a terrible teammates and stuff, some things are out of your control. But
I think it really depends on, it also depends on like where you come from as well. That, I think you said it right. It's like, you just got to make the experience good and kind of, I guess, figure it out, because I went to a small school in New Mexico where, it was like a university town, right? You remember. And, we had some bigger city, football players from like Miami, let's say, that, were always down on themselves because they're like, oh, I'm in a small little town here. There's nothing to do. Back home, there's all this to do. But, once they actually got there and they, got to meet some of the other athletes, teammates, other sports, the school obviously had all these, different types of events that we can go to. Even though it was a small town, we kind of were one big family, and sure enough, he had a great experience. He ended up having a great experience, right?
Yeah. So. Okay.
All right.
Next.
This is for me to you. What is your best memory of college?
A lot of good memories, but if I have to pinpoint one, I'd say for me it was the trips, the travel, the trips, and competing. So I wasn't always the biggest fan of the academics. Obviously, that's one part, but
right,
that people might really enjoy. But for me, it was really being able to go coast to coast. I mean, having the experience being in the West Coast and the East Coast, I got to travel around a lot. I got to go to so many different places, from California to Hawaii to Arizona, Texas, Florida, Georgia, whatever, you name it. Going on those road trips or taking the plane rides was a lot of fun with my teammates that I had a great time with. The memories that we created on those trips, competing, having fun, doing different activities was really my best memories that stick with me. I got great photos and videos of those times, but I also have it, up in here. And
exactly.
Every time I think of it, that's what I think of. I think about those fun trips and all the little, experiences you have within them that make it that great. And I think that's why you do have that priceless experience is, there's always that trip you go on, whether it's a family vacation or with friends or something, that always stands out. To me, that was what it was every single trip that I took. It was just such a cool experience to be going around and seeing new things and competing at the highest level.
I think me and you talk about our experience every other week, on a bi-weekly basis. We're always mentioning, oh, remember this, or remember this person, or remember this memory. And I mean, we've been doing it for now 20 years, and it just, because you almost want to relive it all the time.
Yeah, definitely the highlight for us, what was in a lot of ways was going to Hawaii. I mean, the fact that we got to go to Hawaii and spend a week there and do all kinds of activities, plus play our conference tournament and stuff, was a unique experience. Something that most people would dream of doing. So can't take that away. Okay, so here's my question to you, down to the last two, I think. How should an incoming freshman prepare for college? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know what it's like to come in to a college atmosphere.
Right. I mean, it's a really good question. And I I think you just need to be well prepared especially for your first year as a freshman. So there's a few things that you can, go through on a list. I would say one of them is schedule a campus visit, right? So, want to schedule whether it's your recruiting trip or if it's a non-official recruiting trip, schedule a visit, get to know the campus a little bit more, where, certain buildings are, dorms, cafeterias, and so on. Read information about the school and its surroundings, what's close to it. Is there a big city close to it, or where's the airport? Certain things, activities that you like to do. If you like to hike all the time, are you going to be, near some mountains where you might be able to do that? Again, be organized, make sure you have everything ready to go. Know what to bring with you, if you're traveling obviously away from home, and if you're staying on campus, know, what you should bring with you.
Yeah.
And train as much as you can prior to, going to college for the first time as a freshman. No matter what sport you are, you always want to be the one who's the most hungry, who gets on the field, gets on the courts, whatever the case is, and, be that standout freshman. So that's my best advice. So just that summer before going away for college, just because you committed somewhere, don't let your guard down. Keep it going 100%. Train as much as you can, and just, again, get to the fall and be the standout recruit the coach wanted you to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think academically too, being prepared for your classes is important, just like you are with the sport. And be prepared for a tough year, because if you're going somewhere where you're going to meet new people, or you're going to go somewhere that's going to be really high competition and level and stuff. I mean, I tell a lot of kids, like, be ready to puke, be ready to throw up. I mean, I don't remember anybody on our team that didn't throw up the first time we ran our fitness sprints and all that stuff.
Right.
Like, it's like, it's tough. It's the next level for a reason. And so if you're used to competing at the high school level, now you got a smaller group and it's the best of the best. It's almost like an all-star game, right? So now everybody's really good, coming from different places. Everybody's their high school superstar. And now you're all coming together and pushing each other. So
it's a lot. I mean, we had 2-a-days in the fall, right? We had 6 to 8 in the morning, sprints and workout, then class, then in the afternoon, 3 hours of practice, if not a little bit more, and then kind of study, bed, and repeat. So, I mean, it's a lot, but if you're prepared for it, then, it's not a lot.
Yeah. It's talking to the coach, finding out what the schedule is, and making sure that you can mimic that schedule ahead of time, so that when you come in, you're ready.
Exactly. You're coasting through it.
All right. Last one.
Okay. Last one here. Did you find it difficult to juggle between academics and athletics?
I like how you asked me that question, of course. So for people who don't know, I wasn't the greatest student. It took me a long time to figure it out. It was really difficult for me to juggle academics and athletics. It was almost impossible my first semester. I squeaked by with a 2.0, straight C's. Not proud of it, but it is what it is. And I literally was just eligible. I don't even know how I got that. I probably didn't even deserve that, but somehow I squeaked by. And so it all depends on the person, I think. Like if you're already in a rigorous schedule,
right.
I came from a private school background where it was pretty rigorous, but I struggled academically there too. I just didn't really understand that there was times, like you explained earlier, about having study hall or going to study hall and doing those things. When I was doing it, it wasn't even like, when I was in high school, it was mandatory for me at my private school. We had a couple hours of study hall, but I didn't really study during that time. I'd fool around or take a nap or whatever. It just is what it is. And so when I came to university, it was much of the same. And when I didn't have even the set 2 hours, I wasn't forced to do anything. So for me, it was very hard to juggle both. especially since we traveled a lot with our team. And because we were traveling so much and we had so much practice time, and there was a schedule like you explained where you have morning and afternoon workouts, I was tired. And so I wasn't leaving myself enough time to study, and I still wanted to socialize, but probably did too much of that. So for me, I did find it super difficult, and I think everybody's a little bit different. The best advice I can give is you have to find a balance quickly before it gets too late, because what I ended up having to do my second semester, which was kind of my lifeline, was coach talked to me and said, hey, like, you're hanging on by a thread here. If you don't pick up your grades, you're not going to be able to stay here, and you're going to have to go back home to Canada. And for me, that was like the biggest threat, I guess. It was like
awakening.
Yeah, it was a huge awakening. So I picked up a couple friends of mine that helped me, and they were not athletes. I latched onto them and I said, hey guys, can I study with you? Hey, can you help me out? We became very good friends. So they were real good friends to me because they helped me get through that hump. And once I started going on their schedule where, it was you come back from practice and you're like, I'm exhausted. You just want to lie down. You just want to sort of take it easy. No, those guys would pick me up and say, let's go. Come on, let's get this done. Let's get this, out of the way. And that helps. But I think that there are support systems that you can use in college, and juggling, it's definitely not easy depending on the situation. Some schools have such a rigorous academic schedule that there's not much time for athletics. So it could be the opposite. For me, it was more athletics than academics, but a lot of schools can be the flip.
Right.
So you just have to figure out what works best for you. You got to stick to a schedule, and you got to make sure that you stay disciplined and manage your time very, very well and utilize all the resources possible.
Great answer.
Yeah. All right. So that's what I got. You got any other questions for me? Or are we good?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we can come back here maybe in next month or a couple weeks or whatever the case is, and ask some more questions here and there. I think it's always good for everyone to kind of know what we've been through and kind of just get some information from us as well.
Yeah, give that advice back.
Right.
That's what we're here to do, right? Help people. I think the experiences that we're giving athletes and parents will definitely help them through the process. So,
right.
All right, that concludes episode 10, and we'll see you next time.
Happy recruiting, everyone.